Hello, Danville. Alan Shields here, Chief of Police for the town, and we are 10-8 and in service, which means we are here to safeguard the lives, rights, and property of everyone we serve, and we do that in an attempt to make people's lives better. Thank you for joining us. We're gonna go over the blotter, and we're gonna talk about how low crime was last week, and then I want to talk again. We discussed it a couple weeks ago about how to avoid being a victim, and then I also want to talk about what happens if you are the victim of a crime and you want to be notified when that person is released, and I'll cover that. But first, let's go to some things that we can do to work together to make people's lives better. Local roadway safety plan. This is where you can drop a pin and tell us where you think there's a problem with traffic safety and recommend a solution. So just go ahead and jump on the link in the description, and you can put your information as far as what you think we can do to fix the roads here in town and make them safer. And then if you want to connect with us in person, we'll be out this Saturday, July 23rd, between 2 and 3 at Happy Lemon Tea. That's out on Camino, Tassajara. And we will be out there for the hour. And this is the first time I think we've been out on the weekend in a while, and we'll also be out east. So if you're in the Blackhawk area, that's where you can come and connect with us out that way. In a couple of weeks, we've got our National Night Out. Go ahead and send an email to Lindsay. Her email is in the description. It's August 2nd, 2022, National Night Out. And that's where you can organize your community and have a good time with them. And then we'll come and hang out with you and talk about what it is that we do. Usually what you'll see is you'll see an officer or two, you'll see some of our volunteers, and then you'll see an elected official. So if you want to tell us what we can do to better serve the community, that's a great opportunity to do so. But really, it's about you connecting with your neighbors and seeing what you can do to keep the community safe by having good relationships with your neighbors. I do want to plug a couple of things real quick. This is the FEMA All Hazards Guide, and there's a lot of different things in there. I'm showing the power outage one. Each one of the guide sections will have a way for you to prepare now. So what can you do before the event, what you do during, and then what you can do after it. That one was on a power outage. I keep mine by my desk. This one's for wildfire. I'd recommend just downloading it, printing it, throwing it in a drawer, and that way you've got it when you need it. How are you going to be alerted if there's an incident? This is where I'd recommend go to our community warning system from the Office of the Sheriff, and there's a link in the description. Click on that and register. On that same website, the Wildfire Preparedness and Evacuation Guide is there, and it's got some really good information. We did cover it back in May on the show, but if you'd like to have that, you can download that direct from the site as well. This is a live show. Yeah, Lou, you did get all of the Pelian principles tonight. A little bit of a technical difficulty, so I do appreciate you all being patient with that. This is live, so if you have a question, just ask right in the chat, and if it's something I can answer during the show, I'll get to it live during the show. If not, I'll answer it after. CommunityCrimeMap.com, this is where you can find out on your own all the things that are happening in town. And just a reminder, if you look at the chart here, green is typically going to be property crime. The blue would be robbery, which we usually don't see very often. And then the reds would be like your assaults and such. So let's look at July 11th through 17. This, I think, is the first time where we had an equal number of Part 1 crimes as we did collisions. And I think that speaks well of your ability to not be victims of crime. So we had 4 total thefts. We had a purse taken from a shopping cart while a lady was loading goods into her car in the Costco parking lot. We had a stolen plate from a truck on the 500 block of Harts Avenue. And we are seeing more of those. And then we had a window smash auto burglary from the Clock Tower parking lot on the 16th. We were able to collect some evidence, and we're going to process that for DNA. And on the 17th, we had a window smash auto burglary from the Rose Garden Shopping Center, 750 Camino Ramon. That's at Camino Ramon in Sycamore. So on the Costco parking lot one, this is a trend that we're seeing, and we're seeing it in our Costco parking lot, where when people leave a purse or a backpack unattended, either they'll put it in the front seat of their car and then load the groceries in the back, or they'll leave the purse or the backpack in the shopping cart and then they'll load the groceries to the front. They're being victimized where someone will come up and they'll actually take the bag from there. So we really do recommend, if you can at all possible, please just leave that person home. If not, find a way to secure it in a trunk or some other area where it can't just simply be grabbed. and that'll be good. So on the stolen plate, we are seeing more of those. It seems like we're seeing 1 or 2 of those a month, which is quite a bit more than we normally see. But so we do recommend just make sure you're taking a look at your cars. If you can, park them inside. If not, continue to do what you're doing. I think we're having such a good success with not being a victim of crime with our cars because you all are not leaving things in plain sight. So we're seeing less in crime in that area, and I think that's due to your efforts. As a reminder, if you look at the crime triangle, you have to have these 3 items present in order to have a crime. The motivated offender, that's the hardest one to control. Location, that's the area around us. That could be our front yard. That's our home. That could be the parking lot where we park our car when we go get something to eat. And then you have to have a target or a victim. The target could be your property or the victim could be yourself. And so you all are doing very, very well on that. So I would say keep that up. Let's look at the accidents. July 11th through 17th, we had 3 injury collisions and 1 hit and run. So one on Sycamore and Tunbridge, another one on Crow Canyon Road at Center, and then another one at the Del Amigo Road and Iron Horse Trail Crossing. And we've been really pushing the education on the Iron Horse Trail crossings, and I can't push that enough. I mean, we really do need to be careful around those. Those accidents tend to be pretty bad when we do have them. So encourage people to be safe around those. All right, I'm going to check the chat real quick, see if there's anything in there. So Martha says, if someone, me, is on 680 and sees a significant road hazard, a tire with a metal wheel in middle of the road lane near Livorno today, trailer that dropped it, spotted, pulled over near Stone Valley Road, who should that someone notify? So Martha, that's a good question. Anytime there's a roadway hazard that's in the roadway on the freeway, and Chris Sherry might jump in and say something different. He's our CHP commander, but I think that deserves a call to 911. That'll get you into dispatch. What I would say is do it as safely as you can. If you've got hands-free in the car, that's the best thing you can do. Hit the button and say call 911 and then report what you see. An item in the roadway like that can be a pretty significant hazard and can result in an accident that could result in injuries, especially if it's on the freeway. So I would say notify law enforcement immediately. And oftentimes what you'll see either road crews, or you actually sometimes will even see CHP. They'll actually slow down the traffic and then remove the item from the road so that nobody hits it. But yeah, call it into our dispatch either via 911 or the non-emergency number. But if you're not sure, 911 is going to get you where you need to go. All right. So a couple of weeks ago, there was a question about what can we all do as community members to keep ourselves safe, and what should we do to avoid being a victim of crime. And we talked about Run, Hide, Fight. That's one of the programs that we subscribe to simply because it's a nationally recognized program. But there is one that is very similar, and I want to discuss it today because I think it may be a little less aggressive as far as like the active shooter and those sort of things, and it applies more to like everyday life. We use Run, Hide, Fight for active shooters and things like that, and that's the education behind that. But I want to talk about one that's maybe a little more applicable to everyday life, but it's still in the same theme. It just covers it in a different way, and that's avoid, deny, and defend. So if you look, avoid, it starts with your state of mind. So pay attention to your surroundings, have an exit plan. If you believe there to be a threat nearby, move away as quickly as possible. And remember that distance and physical barriers are what are going to help you stay away from that threat. The next step in that is deny, and that is when getting away is difficult or impossible, keep distance between you and the source, create barriers to prevent and slow down the threat from getting to you. If you're in a building or you're in an area where it's lit, you want to turn the lights off where you're at so it's very hard to see you. And then you want to remain out of sight and quiet while hiding, and make sure that you silence your phone. And if neither of those will work, and as a last line, you want to defend yourself, and you do have a right to do that. We talked about that in a few weeks ago show. So if you cannot avoid or deny, be prepared to defend yourself, be aggressive and committed. Do not fight fair. This is about survival. And the call 911, again, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, but that although listed last here is what you want to do right away. So if there's a perceived or actual threat or there's some sort of a danger, get on with 911 immediately so that we can get people going. I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago that this is one of the first things that I try to do is get help coming quickly. So that's what your law enforcement officers do, and that's what we would recommend that you do as well. The last component of that is once law enforcement is there, it can be very difficult for us to make heads or tails who's who in a situation. And so what we recommend is make sure that you can keep your hands visible and follow the commands of the officers, and that will make it easier for responding officers to sift through what's going on. All right, let me see if there's anything else in the chat before we move on to the final thought. No. Okay, so final thought. So this is actually pretty interesting, and I've actually got an audio for you as well. And this is kind of tied into domestic violence, but really could be for anything. Let's say you or a friend has been victimized in some way, possibly with domestic violence, and that person gets booked into jail. Law enforcement goes, we book them into jail. There's a really good way to figure out how you can be notified when they're released, and that's something that here in the county we subscribe to, and that's called Vine. And so with Vine Link, you can search for people that are in custody. You can look up information, but above all else, once you search for them, you can actually get notified upon release, and it's something that's automated. So as soon as the person's released, you'll get an automated message. And let's look how easy this is. In here, all you have to do is type in who you're searching for, where they're located. Bob Smith is obviously a fictional character, so if there's a Bob Smith watching, I apologize. I tried to pick a fictitious name here. But I want to show you the example on the right because I did a test on this earlier in the week. And look how often I received a call. And I just kept getting peppered with calls. And some of them it ended up being pretty late at night. And so you will continue to get calls. You will continue to get text messages. And this is what it sounds like. So let's take a look at this.
Hello. I'm calling with the information you requested from Vine, the California Victim Information and Notification Service. Please listen carefully to this message. Please note, you will continue to receive this call over the next 24 hours, or until the call is answered and confirmed. You are registered with us to receive updates about an offender whose name is. This offender was released on July 14, 2022 for the following reason. Released by court order. If you have any concerns about your immediate safety, contact your local law enforcement agency, or, if you have an emergency, call 911. For more information, contact Contra Costa County Office of the Sheriff.
So that's not bad. And I'll be honest, I was a little disappointed because there was no way for me to stop the messages. So I was getting messages at 2 and I think 4 in the morning as well. But you're going to keep getting calls so that you will be notified if there is a release. And this is a good way to check to see if the person's in custody. You know, a lot of times when someone's been victimized, they're wondering, is the person still in? I haven't heard anything. And so this is a way where you can proactively go out and check and see if the person is still in custody. All right, so that's all I have for tonight. So I'd just like to remind everybody, come see us Saturday, the 23rd, and that's going to be between 2 and 3 p.m. at Happy Lemon Tea on Camino Tassajara. That's out east. And please register for National Night Out. That's August 2nd. And that is you connecting with your community. And we'll send some cops. And I know Fire actually joins us on some of those as well. And so come join us. And then also make sure you register. I know I popped it up there, but there is a link to our guide, our all hazards guide down in the description. That's put on by FEMA. And then if you can, sign up for the community warning system. There's a link in the description, and download that wildfire preparedness guide. That way you're prepared should something happen. The biggest concern is that people are not going to be notified when something is happening, and we want to make sure that that you and everyone else in the community are notified. All right, so Alan Shields, Chief of Police. We are 10-10, which means we're off duty, but we're always 10-8 and in service to all of you. Have a good night, Danville.